Wake up, America. There may be a terrorist living next door to you. I know what you're thinking. That's nuts. There's no terrorist living next door to me. That's what you're thinking, right? Well, that's what the people in Columbus, Missouri were thinking as well, until their next door neighbor got arrested for planning a terrorist attack, a bombing of Kansas City. Okay. Let me tell you about this. The terrorist, the would-be terrorist, was named Robert Lorenzo Hester Jr. He is the latest homegrown terrorist or domestic terrorist who has been arrested. But there are many more out there. He is 25, he's married, he has 2 children and a wife, and 1 more child on the way. He is currently incarcerated after being arrested for providing material support to a foreign terrorist organization in this plot to bomb Kansas City on President's Day. They were going to bomb the train station and trains and buses. Now, what this says is that terrorists can look like you or me. And these are people who are disenchanted with their life and are angry and feel cheated of the American dream. Let me tell you the story of what happened with Robert Lorenzo Hester Jr. and how he got into trouble. Well, first of all, let me tell you that when they asked the neighbors on his block, they were all saying, "Oh no, not Robert. How could that be?" Well, one person said, a woman said, something like that can't happen on our block. I mean, just the idea of middle America, there being a terrorist in a nice looking block. There are pictures of the block. How could this happen on our block? Then a man in their neighborhood said, "What, Robert? I see him outside playing with his kids. He's a good husband and a good father. What? How could this happen?" So, think again. Well, Robert actually was on social media after he was disillusioned with America and angry and feeling cheated and wanting to blame America for his problems and his lot in life. Although he was only 25, he was still giving up. He, in fact, started posting things that showed that he had terrorist sympathies, and he was going on terrorist websites and being influenced by terrorist ISIS propaganda. And so he would put up the ISIS flag, and he would use aliases on social media, Muslim-type aliases. And he would talk about overthrowing the U.S. government, that's what he wanted to do. He wanted global jihad. He talked about how it felt good to strike back at the true terrorist, America. So one day he saw a man on social media who I guess he liked some of the things that this man was saying, and he asked to befriend this man. And the man, who happened to be an FBI agent going undercover, of course, accepted Robert's request to friend him. And they started a communication. And after a while communicating online, this undercover FBI agent asked Robert if he would like to meet some of the brothers, and Robert jumped at the chance. And he started the FBI agent set up some meetings with other FBI agents, and they started this plot to attack Kansas City on President's Day. And they got Robert to participate in various ways, including asking him to buy some things that would be involved in these bombings. He got them. 9-volt batteries, duct tape, copper wire, and roofing nails. And these were all, of course, supposed to be part of the bombs and part of how they were going to kill lots of people. In fact, the FBI agent said that this bomb plot was going to kill 10 times the number of people and have 10 times the destruction of the marathon bombing in Boston. Well, Robert was getting more excited by the day, and he was all in until he got arrested on the Friday before the Monday of President's Day. So he was in it. Now, in the meantime, during these communications and these meetings with the FBI agents, Robert got arrested for something totally separate, which was he got into a fight with his wife in front of a store, and he threw a pocket knife through the window of the store, and they came out, and when they confronted him, he reached into the diaper bag as if to get a gun, and in fact, when they arrested him, they found that he had a gun. So he went out on bond from that, but he had a monitoring device with him. So even though he had this monitoring device, he still met with these men who he thought were jihadists. He didn't know they were FBI agents, obviously, so he thought they were jihadists, and he didn't care that he had this monitor. Well, what brought Robert to this day, to this bomb plot with FBI agents? Well, Robert obviously came from a dysfunctional family, although so far there's been nothing in the news about what characterized this dysfunctional family. But he went into the Army in 2012, and he went through boot camp, and then he obviously had problems with authority, because after boot camp in the Army, he got into trouble because of violating Army rules, and he got kicked out in 2013, so he was in there for less than a year. And he got kicked out with a general discharge. In other words, not an honorable discharge, because of all of these misbehaviors that he had while he was still in the Army. Then what else could be wrong with Robert? Well, he could be in the beginning stages of schizophrenia, because schizophrenia attacks or it becomes manifest from the mid-teens to mid-20s, and he's 25. Also, it's known that he uses pot, and that obviously could be disrupting his thinking and causing him to have lack of judgment. And he would do things like bring his kids to the FBI meetings, to the jihadist meetings, because he said that he was the one on child duty. And so he would bring his kids, and here he thought, again, remember, he thought he was plotting with real jihadists, and yet he brought his little kids to these meetings. Lack of judgment, yes. He wrote on social media, "Need a break before I start breaking necks. Fed up." This was clearly a guy who was at his breaking point and who was thrilled to be involved in this plot to bomb a city. And so he was vulnerable to all the ISIS propaganda that he had been taking in over the months or years. And so, what does all this mean? Well, it means that we have one more homegrown jihadist off the streets, hopefully for good. But it gives us a bird's eye view into the mind of a jihadist. And it shows us how the typical homegrown jihadist is someone who is angry at America because they feel that they were cheated out of the American dream that they felt entitled to, and they want to get back, and they want to punish America and Americans for not giving them the dream while they see other people around them following the dream, having more than they have. And so, what does this say for us? Obviously, it says we need to be more aware of who our neighbors are. And I don't just mean literal neighbors, people on your block. I mean people you interact with on a daily basis. Who is the potential next homegrown terrorist? Who is so disillusioned and so angry with their lot in life that they could consider something like this, taking it out on America? Now, not all these people who you're going to come in contact with who are angry at America or angry at their lot in life are going to be terrorists. But perhaps they're going to turn to other things like drugs or alcohol or crime. The point is that random acts of kindness and help getting people on the right track, on a better track, could mean the difference between people turning to these other nefarious acts, and one random act of kindness essentially could stop a terrorist.